Now, see, I give you another idea, another thing. In fact, recently I wrote a paper on harmonizing NBA criteria with the international ISO 21018. This is the new international standard of educational quality. Recently, I wrote a paper where I harmonized our present NBA criteria with that international standards. So if you have NBA accreditation, you can achieve, let us say, 60-70% of what international standard does it. Similarly, you see, NBA process of accreditation is very rigorous. If you and the process and the practices that they are doing, if you follow it anywhere, you will be able to achieve that kind of recognition. That is the beauty of the whole process. Even a NAC, though it's applicable to the entire institution, but they also follow the policy of an outcome-based education, but maybe in a little slightly diluted form.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, good afternoon to all the participants. Welcome you in the second session of today. That is the second day. Guruvar sir is here. Guruvar sir is going somewhere. Anyway, so the discussion is back. Discussion was happening on NBA and NAC. In fact, the purpose of this workshop was to sensitize you, expose you, make you to understand what are the best practices to implement quality education at your institution. Now, NBA will take care of the program accreditation, while as the NAC will take care of the institution level accreditation. So, in terms of framing the policies and then these practices, a little alignment, a little changes may remain. But the fundamental philosophy, which since yesterday inaugural session, which we are trying to expose you or tell you, that if you follow the basic philosophy of outcome-based education, whether it is NBA, whether it is NAC, whether it is ABET, International Standard for the purpose of accreditation, that is the US standard for accreditation, or any other accreditation, even IET, the IET United Kingdom, they undertake some accreditation process. So for none of the accreditation, you will face problem. So our bottom line will be, can we deliver quality product within cost, within time, and every time? That is our bottom line, and that is the punchline of this entire program. Thank you so much. And Professor Gumar sir is ready. Sir, you are ready? So you may start PPT. Yes. And my request to all the participants will be, you keep on writing questions in the chat window, because few syllabus has also been designed that this much is to be taught. And then what happens that because of over interaction in between, the session get delayed. So what we will do, we will finish, Guruvar sir, we will finish session maybe by 1.5 hours. So maybe around 3:30, and leave entire time for interaction. So all these questions which participants are writing here or could not have written and then wanted to ask by unmuting mic, they can ask from 3:30 onwards. And even after 4, if questions are not finished, we will be here. Our expert, Professor Grover, and other experts will also be here to answer your queries. But those participants who have some other assignment after 4 and don't want to wait, they are free to go, free to leave and go. Those who can spare some time, they can remain here for the purpose of additional learning. So let's continue lecture till 3:30, and then after all question answers, so that we can take care of the time. Thank you so much, and Grover sir, please start.
Okay. Welcome again. Now see, the point to be noticed is the course outcome must be prepared for every course. It may be project, it may be internship, because whatever contribute to the student learning and achievement of program outcome must be considered. Now, madam should be able, who are asked a question about internship. Here, the biggest difficulty before us is people don't understand what are the learning outcome of internship. In fact, we don't understand even what learning outcome of the lab. So here I will give you a overview of course outcome for lab and projects. What are the lab learning outcome of the lab? So see, at present, the kind of project that the kind of lab we do is a kit culture. There's a black box, student come and go away. Now, let us pose a question to ourselves. What is the learning here? Nothing. Students do only mechanically what is written in their textbook. They will just repeat those steps and go away. There's no learning. And decide the goal of the lab. What should be goal of the lab doing lab? What should be the outcomes of the project? We have to decide that. So appropriate goal examples are, for example, acquaint them with essential equipment. Help students understand theory by observation and verifying concepts. To help them improve their powers of reasoning and manipulating, develop communication and collaborative skills, to have them go through research and design processes, depending upon the level of the lab, whether it is a junior lab or senior lab, like that. So skill, attitude, and behavior attributes are expected to be developed in the lab and project work. Learning outcome must be written for these courses. Now, there is a concept of psychomotor and affective domains. This is because when I had discussed with you, I had shown you this slide. Here, the human learnings are even physical learnings, skill learning, doing manipulating the equipment, using the equipment, looking at the precision of the equipment, and then affective domain. Affective domain is the feeling, working together, realizing each other's let's say constraints. So affective domain. So these three domains, they contribute a lot to the lab work. Now, but we never emphasize affective and psychomotor domain for the lab work, though they are playing a very important role there. Neither teachers are familiar, neither students are familiar. So this aspect gets neglected. So what I'm trying to highlight is these are the core, the learning outcome of the lab, and depending on the type of project, example, a theoretical project or otherwise, like this. Now, if we just have a no, see, because the learning domains and learning outcomes for the lab are very important. So there is a cognitive learning, instrumentation, modeling, doing experiment, data analysis, design. They all are the mental or knowledge-based learning. So they do all this, but they don't do manipulation of apparatus, sensory awareness. No one understands even what is sensory awareness. Affective and cognitive domain, learn from failure, creativity, safety, communication, teamwork, and life. See, learning from failure is a very important attribute which we need our student to develop, because all to become learning from failure is a basic quality to become an entrepreneur. The people in our system, because we are not emphasizing learning outcome, they are not aware of these things even. So here are just the learning outcomes which are indicated by ABET. ABET is American Board, Accreditation Board of Engineering and Technology. The instrumentation, modeling, experimentation, data analysis, design, learning from failure, creativity, psychomotor, safety. Look at the lab outcomes which are there. These in our system, people do all these things, but they do not get the requisite, awareness, requisite emphasis, and teaching learning. With the result, the benefits that one will derive from these are lost. These are just the learning outcomes, how they help us, though they are just listed here. The learning outcome of physics laboratory. Another thing is, see, we have, as engineers, you have been doing learning outcome of the physics, of the engineering lab. But how about physics laboratory courses, chemistry laboratory courses, or environment and laboratory courses? So these students must acquire the ability to understand the relative learning must be emphasized, which means the teacher will have to think on this, apply this. I give you one example. I went to a lab where students were doing neutral experiment. Sometimes students are not able to say what they are doing. They say, "What are you doing?" Newton ring. Is it Newton ring experiment? Is it name experiment? Students don't appreciate that what they are even stating the name of the experiment, there also students are not up to the level. So we have to emphasize these kind of skills. Now, we have the mapping of engineering lab outcomes to NBA POs. I remember I had discussed all the skills and learnings of the program outcomes, that 12. Now, the lab skills, which I have mentioned here, they can be mapped to that. There may be some skills which map more to some POs, there will be others which will map to less. For example, experimentation. This will map very well in the design aspects. Or communication. This will very well map to the team working and so on. So these things, when they are highlighted, then they get importance. Once they do that, then students also become careful. So you can also prepare professional skills, that analytical skills, communication skills, and then they can be mapped to these things. Why I am highlighting these is because if I have to achieve my program outcome to the maximum extent, then I must bring out this mapping. Another thing is course learning outcomes are adjustable. While you create learning outcomes as best as you can with the curriculum, course content and student learning in mind, unintended learning outcomes do arise due to progress of a course over a period of time. There may be some course outcomes which are not up to the level of mapping. So they may come, then you can adjust them. Moreover, remember, these are empirical and prepare them by 2, 3 people who are teaching those courses. Minimum 3, but not less than any, not single person will never prepare these things because it is a collective wisdom which is expressed in the form of this. So some learning outcome may be more constant, they are not changing, they are constant. Where other learning outcome may need to be adjusted, enhanced, or created due to learning of situations, student needs, and code design needs. Learning outcomes are not fixed and should evolve as the course evolves and as students engage in their learning experiences. Please remember this. Tips for constructing learning outcomes. I think this we will take up in the next. Now, what kind of things you might want student to be able to do at the end of your course? What do you want student to learn? That means these are intended outcomes, intended learning outcome. What do you want to imbibe the student? Lower order thinking skills or higher order thinking skills? In lower order thinking skill and higher order thinking skill, we will look up in the next in the next session. But they are what we can decide here. So remember, well-written and complete outcome statement may usually define the following. Remember this. They will help you all this, and there where you can design these things. So remember, preparing learning outcome is a process, not an event. It's an ongoing process. Now, that's where the learning of how to prepare gets importance. Here is just a minute, and then we will go to the next session. Good, good. Hey, here is a small thing. You are responding to as some of the are responding as two as question two as all. No. Final exam doesn't check the attitude. Exam projects, yes, they check it. Presentation, yes, some. Homework doesn't. So let us apply your thinking a little deeper. I think we will, and these are some web references. We will close session here. If there are any questions, please let me know. Then we go over to the next session. You want this is for students? Or let us then we want to spend a little time here. I thought here. Tips for teachers while preparing the course outcomes. See, everything has to be decided by the teacher. But the most important skill that students should develop in the course, that means laboratory skill, problem solving skills. Tips for teachers. Right? So the significance of learning outcomes is there for the students, for the teacher, for the curriculum, for the stakeholders, and so on. It's just a small story. You know, Rudyard Kipling was a very famous child story book writer. He wrote a book. the elephant's child. And in this, he had expressed, I keep 6 honest serving men as my servants. And their names are what, why, when, how, where, and who. He says, they taught me all I know. That these 6 servants can help us to implement, to design, to implement, and assess the various Bloom levels, various course outcomes, and program outcomes. You will ask me how. Ask the question why I am doing this. Ask the question what should be done. Ask the question for whom it should be done. Ask the question and so on. So you will find most of the design of these things is easier, can be accomplished easily if we pose these questions to ourselves. So this is just a small, story I want to share it with you, that pose yourself these questions and you will be able to do all these things. Then always in the learning mode, as I said, lifelong learning. You can always learn as a team member. So these all activities of course outcome, program outcome, their implementation, assessment, these are the collaborative efforts and they help us to learn. Right? These are some of the references. Thank you very much. If there are no question, I go to the next presentation. Any question from any participant, please?
Sir, hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I have a question. Suppose for a particular batch, hello, is it audible, sir?
Hmm. Yes, it's audible.
Yeah. If I set the COPO for a particular batch, and that
Not
particular
badge, please remember. But no, you mean program, badge of particular program,
program, okay,
right?
program, right, sir.
Right.
So once
Hmm.
these things have been achieved, do we need to
Hmm.
redesign the COPO?
No, see, goal is there is no concept of achieving the thing. It's like this: we set a target. Supposing this year you are able to achieve the target, then next time you raise the target. Next time you raise the target. That's where the improvement is. Achieving is good, but it is not improvement, right? That should keep in mind. And the next speaker, Professor Sofet, he will discuss with you how to set the target for a particular achievement of your program outcome or course outcome. How to set this? There is a criteria for setting the target. I achieved the target, let us say this year, and I achieved it. Then improvement would mean next year my target should be higher. Next year it should be higher. So that's where the improvement comes. Achieving is good, but it's not improvement. Because you are able to achieve every year same level. So then the question will be, why? How can you improve it? Pose the question, how can I improve it? How can I go beyond what it is? That's what is required here. So remember, in the case of outcome-based education, it's the improvement which plays a role. Simply attaining a target is one step only. Yes, please. Any other question?
So this process requires extensive planning and work on the delivery of the lecture and as well as the quality that has to be maintained.
You are right, sir. You are very right. This means this is something where we have to put all our intellect, our efforts, our experience to design and implement and assess these things. Remember, you see, when I in the outcome-based education, I specifically mentioned assessment, evaluation, and improvement. You have assessed You have reached the target. That is assessment. Now analyze. How can I improve this? Evaluate. I have improved. I evaluated, and I have improved. Then you have to share the why you have improved, how you have improved. That is, there may be good practices that you develop to achieve better and better and improve things need to be shared with others. Remember, NBA SAR says share the best practices. What are the best practices? So you have to share them. So this is a very open system where your good things are recognized, and where if you are not able to do, that's also recognized, because then you are finding why I am not improving. What are the reasons of not improving it? How can I improve it? What are the techniques or additional thing I should do it? These we are made to think on these lines with a view to come up with the final answer. I am to improve. I am to improve. Yes, please. Right now, our
Sir, I
guide
have
says
hello.
question answer after 3:30.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Sir, I had posted one question in connection with complex problems. What part of this curriculum,
Could you
like
take at 3:30, please?
it will be syllabus?
No, could I take at 3:30,
Yes.
please? Because the
Yeah,
Professor Huda says
okay.
we'll do it. I'll take up all your questions, please. Rest assured. Even if I'm not in session, you can send me on email or WhatsApp. I'll respond to all of them. Okay. Okay, please. Now let us go over to the next session. And next session is design of learning outcome. See, the workshop has been structured in such a way. First, we should understand what is the learning outcome, what does it involve, what are its various levels, how they are. Now the question is, what is their importance? Now the question is, how can I design the learning outcome? How I can prepare the learning outcome? Because it is when only after preparing and implementing are we able to achieve our objective. So this session will be devoted to Bloom taxonomy and design of learning outcome. It's okay. Now Bloom taxonomy. Now see, Bloom was a education scientist. He was a professor of education, and he analyzed the ways human beings learn. What are the learning that human being is with? Now, for example, he in 1956 he studied the features of human learning and identified that learning may be categorized into three domains. Cognitive is the mental domain, knowledge; affective domain, growth in feelings or emotional areas, attitude; psychomotor is the manual physical skills. Engineers need all of these. These domains are being emphasized as goals of learning. See, outcome-based education emphasize these three goals. Remember when we were saying knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior, they are all derived from these. And though he did it well, it's about 50 years, about 60, 70 years back. Now there is a justification for this. Neuroscience has come out with the structure, of the brain and the function of the brain, and these are all found to be connected. So these domains, these ideas are incorporated into outcome-based education process and teaching. These domains are being emphasized as the goals of learning. Domains are further divided into hierarchical levels. Cognitive has 6 levels, affective has 5 levels, and psychomotor has again 5 levels. These levels are based on the depth of learning of the student is doing. Depth of learning. We'll see this now. This diagram I showed you. Now see, there is a cognitive domain, affective domain, psychomotor domain. They have 6 levels. 6 levels of cognitive domain are create, evaluate, analyze, apply, understand, and remember. Affective domain, characterizing by value. I will go on understanding all this. And the beauty is that way back in 2003, the domains were revised. See, the original was, the original was knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. These are all nouns. These are nouns. And the revision of 2003 has transformed these nouns in terms of remembering, in terms of verbs. So remembering verb, lowest level, understanding next level, applying, and so on. Highest level is creativity. We'll see that how the understanding the level can help us to create the skills which we are looking for. Now, indeed, this is also called as Bloom's revised taxonomy. So, in the Bloom taxonomy, see, when I say recalling, remembering means recalling information, recognizing, listing, describing, retrieving. It means already whatever I have remembered, I have to just recall that. That is referred to as remembering level. Now, if I have learned something, as for example, we say Newton's state Newton's first law. So this means I have remembered Newton's law, I can recite it. Now, next level is understanding, explaining ideas or concepts, interpreting, summarizing, paraphrasing, classifying, and explaining. Using my earlier remembering knowledge, I am able to understand some more concepts. That means understanding. Now, understanding, after having understood, I can start applying them. So, using information in another familiar situation, implementing, carrying out, using, this is what the applying level or application level. Then, still higher is analyzing level. Analyzing means breaking information into parts to explore understanding and relationship, comparing, organizing, and so on. Then evaluating, justifying a decision, taking a decision, judging things, criticizing things, and highest level is referred to as creating. Now, this means creating new ideas, building new structures, producing different things, then inventing things. They are categorized in the highest level, that is creativity. Please remember here, these are empirical. They are not exact. These are human characteristics. They are empirical. They give you an idea. Now, then the levels analyzing, evaluating, and creating, they are characterized for sake of convenience and also importance as higher order thinking. The upper level, three levels are higher order thinking, and lower three levels are lower order thinking. So, Bloom, these are the regions which we have done with a view, the type of learning that student is doing. Just a minute. What is meant by higher order thinking? What is meant by higher order thinking? See, many people have worked on this, and Association of American Universities in way back about 30 years, they defined what is higher order thinking. The reason I'm sharing it with you is because our goal of outcome-based education is to develop and imbibe higher order thinking in our students. So far, our students are very good, but they were deprived of the learning at the higher order thinking. What is higher order thinking? Higher thinking by students involves the transformation of information ideas, changing ideas. This transformation occurs when students combine facts and ideas and synthesize, group together, generalize, explain, hypothesize, or arrive at some conclusion or interpretation. That means interpreting it. Manipulating information and idea through these processes allows students to solve problems. Remember, problem solving is one of the program and graduate attribute. Gain understanding and discover new meaning. When students engage in the construction of knowledge, an element of uncertainty is introduced into the instructional process, and the outcomes are not always predictable. In other words, the teacher is not certain what the student will produce. In helping students become producers of knowledge, the teacher's main instructional task is to create activities or environments that allow them opportunity to engage in higher order thinking. So higher order thinking implies that we should imbibe, we should foster, we should try to enhance analyzing, evaluating, and creating skills in the student. So the focus now, as we go higher up in the learning ladder, our focus should be to emphasize these higher levels. When a student is in the school, you remember you know when a primary school student is very good at reciting a poem, but once he forget one line, he is not able to do it. So, but as we go higher up in the ladder, our other skills start developing. This figure I had given you, there are 6 functions of the brain: thinking and cognition, perception, sensing, emotion and feeling, behavior, physical and somatic. So these are related with the 6 these are related with the domains of human, Bloom's taxonomy or Bloom's level. This figure I had already given you, where we have the left brain function, right brain functions. Now here the beauty is all these functions can be developed further. Whatever natural gift is, they can be enhanced further because brain is a muscle. Another interesting thing is, as we go from the lowest level is remember, and the highest level is create. As we go from lowest level to higher level, it becomes more and more difficult, those skills. So remember, you will find a large number of students with this remember, understand skills, still lesser as with 3 skill, still lesser with and so on. As we go up the ladder, the number of students with those skills, they become more less and less. The reason being, it's difficult to imbibe higher order thinking skills until unless we are trained according to that. Our present system focuses more on the lower 3 level. So there are institutions which are focusing on upper also. We are improving a lot now because we have become familiar. So we are improving a lot. There is no doubt about it. But majority of our teaching and learning, it is concentrated on the lower 3 levels. Now, remember, in the first, second, and third year, in the first year or second year, lower, these are empirical, lower 2, 3 levels. But as you go in third year, fourth year, fifth year, then the upper 3 levels becomes very important. And of course, it's again a question of there is no quantification, but it's the emphasis and the response of the student. The Bloom level of thinking says in school, the most learning occurs at the level of knowledge, understanding, and application. And at these level, memory, comprehension are necessary. So remain. But at the university, we need to go at the higher level. Textbook study guide often present knowledge as absolute and unchanging. We only gain knowledge. So in the lower classes, where there is a lot of usage of these things, we gain only knowledge, not gain any skill. We need to create knowledge. So focus on the upper 3 level. Please keep in mind the textbook only have knowledge. If you may be knowing the category of books, there are textbooks, there are monographs, there are research books, and there are reference journals. We, unfortunately, do not encourage students to use monographs or research paper, except in the maybe fourth year, BTech fourth year, or MTech. But that's also again a limited one. So if I'm aware of these things, then I can emphasize those so that students learn more. So now the issue is we use Bloom taxonomy because identifies simple to more difficult skills. Lower level skills are simple. As we go higher and higher, the skills become more and more difficult. That means the skill to carry out the lower level is simple, then understand is slightly more, apply slightly more, analyze is still more, and so on. The most difficult skill is the creativity and so on. So Bloom's levels help us to categorize these skills. Effective, aligning, objective assessment technique standard. Because if I have to imbibe higher level skill, then I have to assess higher level skills. So normally we always say incorporate knowledge to be learned, knowledge dimension and cognitive processes to learn. Facilitate questioning and assessment because that's where we can do all these things. Now the issue is, remember we were writing learning outcomes? So why we write it? Here is the answer if we keep in mind the Bloom taxonomy. Is it learning outcome shift is from teaching to learning? Focus on the learner rather than the teacher. Student will know exactly what they are expected to learn. For each course, student will know exactly how their learning will be assessed. Students begin to take more responsibility for their own learning when they know what they are expected to do and what standard they are expected to follow. So Bloom taxonomy, now we have understood what is Bloom taxonomy. Please remember, what is Bloom taxonomy? Now the issue is how to apply the concept of Bloom taxonomy to prepare our learning outcome. Now here, Bloom taxonomy, Bloom studied the verbs. Whose verbs and can categorize what are the verbs which can express knowledge. What are the verbs which can express skills, attitude, behavior, and abilities? And he identified a group of verbs which are related to various levels. That is, we have indicated earlier. We indicate explicitly what the student must do in order to demonstrate learning. The student should demonstrate learning at what level? Memory level, evaluation level. So how do you identify that? How we indicate that? That we indicate by using the hint about that is gained with the help of Bloom taxonomy. So then we say they are measurable verbs. Measurable verbs are used to create learning outcome which can be measured. Remember, we always said the learning outcomes are measurable. If they are measurable, how do you make them measurable? How do we, what is the process we making them measurable? So the process is using the major verbs of cognitive, see, major verbs of Bloom. For each domain and for each level, some verbs have been identified. The list of these verbs you can get from the net and use it. Now, for example, remember verbs are define, identity, or analyze verbs are analyze, break, etc. When I write my learning outcomes, the program or then I will deploy these verbs and it will send a signal that what is expected from here. In the moment I say estimate this and this estimation involves analysis because we have to make a comparison, which is more, which is less, that means it will be evaluation. Now, when we say create, we can say adapt, prepare, they produce. These are, again, remember, these are empirical, but they provide a good guidelines of writing the learning out. So, just example of these various things. I think just a recall the axiom. I think I will skip these things because of time. Because otherwise, there are examples for applying. And if you see the verbs, modify, apply, select, construct, show, they all fall in the application level. Then analysis level, calculate, compare, debate, identify, quantify, calculate. These are all the verbs which are in this level. So another assessment level, evaluation level, assess the importance of key factor in bringing out change in electronics industry, or evaluate strategies for success of e-commerce business, or appraise the role of sport, and so on. So please appreciate here these verbs which I have indicated here are there to emphasize the kind of learning that student is to be involved in. So let's say in creating, design an interactive program to print all the prime numbers between 1, between 100 and 2. Find their sum. That means there's a lot of thinking involved in this, and a product, that is a program, is prepared. So you should be able to appreciate the Bloom levels enable us to focus on the kind of skill that we want to the student to gain. Now, fostering higher thinking skill via upper three levels. Try to incorporate Bloom's taxonomy in your teaching. Use critical evaluation analysis thinking verbs often. Focus on assignments which address upper levels. Assignments. Incorporate more of the higher levels of taxonomy in your assessment evaluation criteria. Then pose questions corresponding to higher levels. So if we do these things, then because now we are clear, at least let us say maybe empirically, that how I can apprise the students, how I can focus on conveying the message that these things I am expecting. Now, here another important point: students should also understand what are these skills. Otherwise, they will do in the routine way, because the question that we pose will help the students to they will stimulate and motivate them, enhance the learning process, check for understanding, enrich the analytical skill, encourage involvement, bring out relevant experiences, increase lifelong learning. See, when I am saying here that our verbs or the level that we focus the student to learn are the higher levels, those higher levels can be imbibed through various mechanisms, through various techniques. Questioning is one of the important thing, assignment is important thing, and they help us do all. The moment you have these things, then the increased lifelong learning is related with that. So what kind of these things are? So just to help you to fix up your mind, that's how these are leveled. See, many times analysis, synthesis, and creation they're highly creative levels, so they are taken there directly. Another point to be kept in mind that teaching strategies are different for different domains. If you are concentrating on knowledge conveying, teaching strategy will be different. Now, here comes the importance I was highlighting that the teaching strategies are different for imbibing different skills. Assessment strategies are different for assessing different skills. Same method is not applicable as we are doing now. So remembering domain, the lecturing strategy will be lecture, audiovisual, understanding, discussion, question paper, analyzing, practice by doing, evaluating, lab, self-study. Now see the importance of lab. All the problem solving skill, self-learning, they are considered in the upper three levels. Real life projects, on-job training, they are complex problem solving. They all fall in the domain of creativity, creation, evaluation, and so on. So our teaching strategy has to be, adjusted accordingly. We will just spend a few minutes on this and see these assignments. Question number 330. Okay, then we leave it. We proceed because we have time constraints. Just spend 2 minutes. बड़ा साहब ये 4 बजे तक चलेगा या थोड़ी देर वी विल एक्सटेंड इट क्योंकि इतनी जल्दी खत्म नहीं होगा. Good, very good. So now let's move on. Now, just see, another interesting thing is with the coming up of the digital social media, the earlier Bloom verbs are not adequate. Now, for example, rating or tabulating or animation or podcasting. These words were not used earlier. Programming, they were never used earlier. Now, what they have done, they have also come up with a Bloom's digital taxonomy where they are specifying the verbs in the from the social media and from the digital world and the various categories. So they are just again just for you apprising you. Now, affective domain involves our feelings, emotions, and attitudes. Remember, there is a lifelong learning. There is a now recall program outcome. There is a lifelong learning. There is a society, sustainability. How do they get connected with this? You see here, this domain includes the manner in which we deal with the things emotionally, such as feelings, values, appreciation, enthusiasm, motivation, and attitudes. It has 5 levels, which are also indicated with a proper word, like so affective domain, receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, characterizing. As we go up the ladder, they become more and more challenging, more and more difficult to apply. Now again, I'm just saving and because these things you can find on the net, but be familiar with them and use them in designing the learning out. So receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, characterizing. So in this case, the 5 levels are there are verbs corresponding to this, receiving, there's a list, behave, accept, and so on. And there may be overlapping verbs also. That's also possible. So please, I am highlighting these are not unique. They are only suggestive. They have a subjective meaning, but they give you an idea. A complete learning outcome will give you an idea. Examples of affective domain levels, then psychomotor domain. In psychomotor domain, there is for example, the outcome-based education is applicable across all disciplines, medical, engineering, nursing, whatever it is applicable. And there are a lot of skills which are related with the physical management. So the psychomotor domain involves muscular activity, both brain and muscular, motoring skill, imitation, manipulation, precision, adaptation, improvising. So there are verbs for this also. The psychomotor domain would includes physical movement, coordination, and use of the muscle and motor skill areas such as agility, endurance, strength, speed, flexibility, precision, psychomotor domain. Please see here, you know what are psychomotor domain? Our lab. Our projects which involve a lot of machinery, our internship where the experimentation are to be designed and so on. So psychomotor domain become important there because the engineer is supposed to be involved in these activities. It is not relevant to the computer, it may not be relevant to the computer engineer until unless he is a hardware engineer. But it's very relevant to the civil engineer, mechanical engineer, automobile engineer, and so on. So psychomotor learning is demonstrated by physical skills such as movement, coordination, manipulation, agility. Development of these skills require practice and is measured in terms of speed, precision, distance, procedures, and techniques in execution. So look at they play important role in the laboratory course. The mapping of the laboratory courses will help us to connect with the psychomotor domain. So psychomotor domain, laboratory skills, we operate the range of instrumentation specified in the course. Perform titration, for example, construct simple scientific sketches and like this. So psychomotor skills is important for the hands-on experiences and so on. So here is just a summary of this. Now you can say, sir, as an engineer, I don't need it. No, its importance is because we are going to implement these things in developing skills in the student. Now a student will appreciate much better if he knows beforehand that I will be judged on the following skills. Because students are very good. Once they know what they are going to be judged about, they come prepared. They will learn those habits. They will do all those things which help them to score more. So the knowledge of these is important for the teachers, and you can explain briefly or in let's say in outline to the students also why we are doing this thing. See, there was a time when people were saying workshop is not important for computer science students. Workshop is not important for computer science students. Now, what they go to the workshop in addition to gaining knowledge to developing skills also. Those skills may be developing and understanding skills. For example, writing a software or preparing a robot software will be much more easier if I understand the, if I appreciate, if not understand completely, if I appreciate how it works, what are the concepts here, how it is managed, and so on. See, you will notice even developing software becomes easier if I have the domain knowledge. Domain knowledge helps us do all these things. That's the reason why they are emphasizing that we should develop these things in the student. That's the reason. There was also that I know of a engineering in the south which had removed chemistry from their syllabus because their chemistry is not of use to engineering students. It is used only for chemical engineers. No, look at the skill that one gains from the chemistry lab. That's what is important. It is made the let's say titrations or reactions. The theory may not be important, but the skills to implement them are relevant and important. So now these three domains overlap, and understanding of this is essential to write the learning outcome. Now, just sum up: cognitive focuses the domain focuses the mind, affective domain focuses the spirit, and psychomotor domains focus the body. Now that means the learning of the engineering student has to be given due consideration for the various faculties, various capabilities or domains of knowledge. And that's what this slide summarizes. And as teachers, we need to appreciate them because this will be relevant for implementing and assessing and so on. So the advantage of using Bloom taxonomy is it encapsulates systematic process of thinking and learning that gives us a roadmap of thinking at various levels and then implementing them. Assessment effort, the easy use format. How to assess them, what to assess them. Helps form challenging questions to help students gain knowledge and critical thinking skills. See, assessment is very important. And assessment means if I want to assess the critical thinking skill, I can assess this only when I am able to see how to imbibe it. If I understand what it is, if the student understand the reply of this question will involve this kind of answer. So not be apparent in the let's say in the open sense, but otherwise they have a meaning if to understanding if you have to implement them. So group taxonomy assists in developing goal objective lesson for higher level thinking, enables real presentation of alignment between goal objective with standard activity and outcome. Because everything comes on the paper. When I write these things, you will be able to see them. Just a minute, please. So we move on. Just give you an idea. We will take it up later on. Now, how to prepare these things, because this is very important. Preparing course and program learning outcomes via Bloom taxonomy. Now here, remember, these things I'm repeating. Remember, when writing outcome, ask yourself, what skills would learners be able to perform on completing the learning? This question has to ask ourselves. Let us say you say you have formed a team of 3 persons. Ask this question. Why do I want learner to understand this? How can learner do something that's related to what I want them to understand? Please keep this in mind. How, why, what? These are your 3 sermons for writing outcomes. Now, learning outcomes and Bloom taxonomy. Now, again, there are verbs, and learning outcomes are written as statements. Bloom taxonomy is used to design outcomes when we use the verbs of various levels to write a statement. So, via statement outcomes are specified in terms of statements. Now the question is, what statement should consist of what? How should statement be designed? What should be embedded into the statement? How do the statement give this meaning of what we wanted? That's the point we have to understand now. Statement that describe what students are expected to know and be able to do on completion of an educational activity. That will be outcomes include range of knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. Statements are verifiable. That means whatever I write, it is verifiable. Outcomes are prepared at course level and program level. A learning outcome is measurable. Now, please remember these characteristics: measurable, observable, and specific statement that clearly indicates what a student should know and be able to do as a result of learning. That means the student should be able to understand the statement and demonstrate that. So while writing learning statements, learning outcome statements, keep these things in mind. See, this is just a prescription. It's not exact rule. It's a prescription. So prescription is, by writing learning outcome should include audience. Who are our audience? Student. What is the level of student? First year, second year, third year. Performance. What we expect them to do. What learners will be able to do after the instruction, after teaching. Condition. Under what condition? Include the condition under which the learner should demonstrate the skill, if any. And when it will be taken that the student has completed the things correctly. Please see here, it's not, it is appreciated for whom we are writing learning outcome. What should be content of the learning outcome? What should be learning of the learning outcome? And learning outcome, what should the student demonstrate out of that? And what is the acceptable demonstrating result out of that? So this is the very deep significance of learning outcomes. Now we have to embed these into those things. Now let me illustrate these points by example. Most outcomes need to have the following 3 or 4 elements. One is action verb, this is a Bloom verb. Then object and noun. This is the suggested one. Please remember, this is not something which is exact, but it gives you a guideline. Object or noun, condition, criteria. Now, action verb is a Bloom verb, may be cognitive, affective, or psychomotor. We have those tables. Take the verb from there appropriately. Level you can take from there. Object, activity to be performed. What is to be done? Condition, the method, technique, tool, process, how it's to be done. What will be the acceptable criteria? So, several level of performance of student. So, this is just to focus your mind and to give you a orientation of writing these things using Bloom verb. And here is an example. Let's supposing I write, determine the root of the given equation by Newton-Raphson method, accurate to second place of decimal. The student should be able to do this thing. Now, let us carry out its analysis. Action verb is determined. What is to be done? Root of the equation. Activity performed. Condition, using the Newton-Raphson method, and which method? And accurate up to second place of decimal. Which means the way student will understand this will be clearly indicated in the statement. That is a learning state. And the decision of what is to be done, at what level to be done, is taken by the Bloom's action verb. Bloom's action verbs are the key point in designing the appropriate learning outcome. There are others also, the action verb, modifier, object, etc. They are all the method, but this you will learn more from experience. Now, you try to use 1 or 2 Bloom verbs in a statement because these Bloom verbs give us the indication about the level. Now, if you use more, then its measurement may become more complex. It's not that there is no rule, do, don't, do, and do, no. These are from experience, but use 2 and suppose there may be a situation where you're using 3, doesn't matter, but be careful, it increases complexity. Now, there are some good way of writing learning outcomes. There are certain bad ways of writing learning outcomes. Now, here is, and take this example. Supposing I write a learning outcome, design a beam. Now, it's a very poor design of a learning outcome. Yes, verb and noun, very poor. You know why? It doesn't say what is the accuracy, what is to be shown, design a beam, which tool to be used, nothing mentioned. Now, a slightly better way would be design a beam using Microsoft Excel design template. Now, this is a better construction because design a beam using Microsoft Excel design. So we have here Microsoft Excel. 2, we specify the tool, and he can design a beam using a tool. So now another still better will be design a beam using Microsoft Excel design template based on national standards. Now, it's all right. Then I have added national standard. But this was not covered in the class. So here the student has to search himself or herself. What is national standard? This is again a self-learning. Because this learning outcome has imposed the restriction that not only students should design the template using the Microsoft Excel tool, but he should also adhere to the national standard, which were not taught in the class, but he has to search these things. This is lifelong learning, this is self-learning, and so on. So by incorporating condition and standard in the learning outcome, we can make it more and more understandable, specifiable, and measurable. If you have to measure this thing, then I will look whether you have followed national standard, whether you use Microsoft Excel or not, and so on. This is an example which should enable you to look at what is a good design of a learning outcome and what is a poor design. So when I say poor design, this means many of the things, what is to be done, how it's to be done, at what level it's to be done, that gets vague. Students are not clear about that. So make it clear, because then assessment becomes easier. Further example, I just giving you this thing. This is just because this is a very important thing. Very hard to measure. If I say appreciate the benefits of exercise, how to measure it? Student will be able to appreciate the benefits of exercise. How to measure it? Now, if I say student will be able to value exercise as a stress reduction tool, slightly better, लेकिन reduction tool use करता है. Now, relatively easy to measure, explain how exercise affects stress. So it's the issue. We not only look at the learning outcome, which is understandable, but it is implementable, which is again measurable, and which can be implemented within a short time. So these are some of the examples which will help. Another way, example of a learning outcome is where we indicate the Bloom level itself. Example, here is a learning outcome where we have indicated knowledge, understanding, create. So when I say knowledge, then I will write a list and describe. If I want to have understanding, I will say summarize the salient features. If I have the creativity, I'll use the word design, and so on. So this is just a simple way to do it if I understand the significance of the Bloom levels and the various things. Here is I will now go a little faster. Here is I have taken an example. Here is a syllabus of a topic, which is good organization architecture, and here are the course outcomes. Now, course outcomes I have indicated whether here the focus is more on the knowledge only, or it will have this course will have component of application as well. So depending upon what is the focus of the particular syllabus that you have, you can write the corresponding course outcome. So course outcomes, as indicated, maybe 6, 5, 6, 7, but don't go beyond 7. Sometimes people have 10 even, no one stops you. But then the implementation becomes little more challenging. See, whenever expert comes, you have the liberty, you have the freedom of doing it, but then you have to demonstrate. Accreditation bodies say, do what you want to do it, but then you demonstrate it and prove that it is like this. Similarly, if it is of a higher level, I can write the course outcome and so on using these words. Now, please appreciate here the I have colored some of these words to indicate those things. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, fine.
You are
So
audible,
this is okay, thank you. Yes. Just a minute, please.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. ऐसा अभी ना यार मैं वेबिनार बिजी हूँ. We will talk around 4:30. Okay? हाँ. Yes, please. Sorry. Now, please appreciate here that now it's again up to the faculty. What is the level they want to have the syllabus? What is the level in terms of skills they want to have it? They can design the course outcome using the words corresponding to the higher levels, which means they have to demonstrate, which means the standard of their teaching, learning, and assessment is higher. appreciate this point, please. Let us say algorithm be taught in college A and being taught in college B also. Now, the learning outcome which you prepare for this will give a sense, will give a feeling where it's being used to develop what kind of skills, higher levels of skills or whatever it is. So this is in a way, kind of mirror of conveying the level of implementation of the syllabus, the level of implementation as regard the developing the skills among the students. Now, this should reply to the question which people are asked that university sends us a syllabus. Yes, university send you syllabus. Now, how to implement that syllabus? How to assess that syllabus for internal examinations? How to modify that syllabus for the internal learning is in the hands of the teacher. But if it's an autonomous college, everything is in the hands of the teacher. So this enables us to develop good quality question paper, maybe define higher standards of the student learning, and so on. And this we can indicate how does the outside world know that. They will know it, you show your syllabus. When we go for assessments, we ask for a syllabus. We ask for the questions. They will show us questions, course outcomes. And the course outcomes, I'm supposing it's for a fourth year course. They are for the lower levels, lower Bloom pyramid, then we will say the implementation or the goal of the fourth year's class are not being met. So this is a hint of conveying to the stakeholders or the expert, whatever it is, that what level we are maintaining for the student learning and student assessment. So well-written and complete outcome statements will usually define the following 5 elements. I will see the learning outcome and be able to say who will change, who, the student who you are learning, training, what will change, their knowledge, their skill, attitude, behavior, how much change you think is realistically achievable. That means I can't expect overnight changes. There may be incremental change, there may not be any change. How much better attitude they have developed. Doesn't matter if they don't develop it, but the effort is there. If they not do it in the first go, they will do a second go, third go, fourth go. The student will know these are things expected of me. So when the time frame within which over what period of time, how the change will be measured, that's important. Change is there. We are trying for a change. How the change can be measured? The surveys. This can be made by surveys, tests, interviews, other method. You will use to make different specified changes. This you will get to know in the assessment session. So please appreciate how I judge the quality of an learning outcome statement by looking how it has been designed, whether it meets these criteria or not. See, once I have designed the learning outcomes, then the type of lectures which help us to implement them, the kind of assessment which help us to measure them also get defined. Please appreciate this. The moment I design learning outcome which is in the cognitive domain, then teaching learning materials will be lecture, tutorial, discussion, and laboratory work. And assessment tools will be end of course examination, multiple choice tests, essays, reports, project, interviews, etc. Now, supposing I want a learning outcome where I'm emphasizing affective. Remember, attitude is a part of learning outcome, attitude, behavior. They are part that is affective domain. So, affective domain, integration of beliefs, ideas, and attitudes. They are teaching strategies are through seminars, through group work, or maybe small projects also. So And the assessments are practical assessment, poster display, that means they give a presentation, performance, project work, and so on. And the psychomotor domain, which is a lab experiments, where there's a workshop, they get reflected. So please appreciate that the learning outcome bring out the various capabilities, various knowledge and skill which we want the student to be, and use the appropriate teaching learning method, use the appropriate assessment tools. That was the requirement of outcome-based education. No single jacket fits everyone. The assessment tool for what you want to assess will depend on that. Just a minute, please. Quickly. We have only 10 minutes. We'll skip this. Now this is very important. Learning outcome of projects is again related to the query which Madam has asked. What is the use of doing a project where there is no learning? You can pass the examination, you can get 10 upon 10, no one stops you. But what are we doing? There is a learning outcome. What is the purpose of that? Why I am not getting a job when I have done a 1 year project? Because the time was spent not in learning, but only in doing things. Now, learning outcomes of a project, which is of duration 6 or 8 months, these learning outcomes should be visible there. Critical understanding, awareness of nature of that means how nature can be applied, how knowledge is created, how effective communication, how the ability to deploy appropriate techniques, and so on. That means so many learning things which are again related to our program outcomes. I had mentioned skills there. Those skills must be learned, imbibed in the projects. Now, which means the in order to be able to understand all this, we must be pretty familiar with the Bloom taxonomy, verbs, Bloom taxonomy domains. And this slide indicates a process of writing the learning outcome. It's very simple. Domains, which domain you want, focus, which level you want to bring out, which are the verbs relevant to these things, and design statements. That way you are able to prepare a learning outcome. And again, depending upon what you want to do, this we have done. So, now while write program learning outcome, rules are similar as for the course outcome. Rules for writing program, learning outcome program are the same as those for writing learning outcome course or module, but encompass the experience and learning of the complete program. Now, please here, course, learning outcome are realized in one semester or one session, whatever it is. But for the program outcomes for the whole program are the sum or the integrated learning of the 3 year, 4th year, 1 year, and so on. In our case, in BTech, is a 4 year integrated learnings. Now, COs versus POs. How does COs? COs are realistic and measurable. Relate to program outcomes. Connect courses to one another systematically, because there may be courses which are emphasizing similar kind of outcomes. You can always relate them, maybe assignments, build upon each other to create an integrated whole. Program outcomes, they are critical and broad. Critical in the sense They help us to learn many more things from various courses. Knowledge and skill develop over time in increasing sophistication. As time passes, we gain more and more knowledge. Third year, fourth year. Integrate skills and knowledge. Describe what all students will be able to do at the completion of it. So it's a goal which is decided by these two. That they are aiming at 12. Now that's why it decides like what all students will be able to do at the completion of the program. That 12 NBA outcomes, so all we expect all students will be able to do them at the end of this. That is what they are all. Now, the Bloom taxonomy works for the writing of POs are the same. Now, POs indicates you are learning at the end of this. Graduate attributes form the basis. Action verbs are used to indicate POs. Action verbs, for example, just I have given you some examples. You can see that. And tips for writing. Now, how do we judge the quality of the learning outcome? How do we judge? For example, I have written a learning outcome. You have also written a learning outcome. A third person also have written. Which learning outcome is a good one? Why do you need all this? Because the quality of your teaching, learning, assessment is related to this. The clearer they are, better it will. So, does the learning outcome identify what student will be able to do after a topic, assignment, or unit? Does the learning outcome focus on specific and concrete actions, behavior, cognitive processes? Is the outcome observable? Is it clear how would you test or measure achievement of the learning outcome? Does the learning outcome align with the expected level of knowledge or performance of students at that point in course? Does the learning outcome have clear meaning to both teachers and students? Is the terminology familiar to students? Please remember, if terminology is not understood, the implementation becomes difficult. Is the learning outcome relevant and useful to students? Does the learning outcome align with the corresponding learning activities and assessments? See, beautiful. See, if I want to see you have written better, then you will score checkpoint will get more here. So the see in outcome-based education, the famous acronym is specific, SMART. That means they should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Another important thing, which I have done partly, but you can do spend time on this. See, we have 12 program outcomes. How many of them are related to various domains of Bloom taxonomy? How they are related? For example, engineering knowledge, number one, it emphasizes more on cognitive. So we say there is a high correlation or cognitive domain will be highly emphasized for the first outcome. Affective domain is not that because people may work in it's a low, it's not needed, it's needed, but it may be at a lower level or similarly psychomotor is not. For example, but then look at the case of problem analysis. Problem analysis with theory, very practical. Now here, what is most important? Problem analysis, cognitive domain, practical domain, it may or may not be. It is subjective, but they focus we want to focus it. Where what gets focused? I repeat, these are subjective, but they focus where what? They focus to the extent it is a large, it is a medium, it is small. No, right. This is important because then we can design our assessment and other criteria accordingly. So, outcome-based demand that design of COs be such that they are closely linked with POs and enable their attainment. How do we do that? Here we look for the action verbs. Which CO will contribute to which PO? Look for the action verb in the CO and the corresponding or similar action verb in the PO. It may not be exactly same, but if you look at the table, nearly same. Look for similar action verbs in COs. Similar, whenever there is a match, it implies that those COs will contribute to those particular POs. So this is a trick please, I repeat, look for the verbs which are similar in COs and POs. They will map. They may be either same or the similar meaning. They will map. And this mapping is again very interesting because this is linking. Because linking would mean which one is substantially contributing to the PO. After all, we are interested in the achievements. So here is another example which indicates the course outcomes. They're linking. Example, I have linked the POs with the Bloom taxonomy, and this is the linking a course outcome with the program outcome, and also I've indicated the Bloom taxonomy levels. C is cognitive, affective, and C, ability to analyze the concept of vector analysis in electrometric theory. So PU, which contains verb analyze, there will be a lot of correlation between them. And this is a C4 level, analyze. Then there is ability to investigate and analyze the concept of electrostatic and magnetic level. I'm using verb investigate and analyze. Here, as verbs analyze and investigate, this will be linked with this, and so on. So the linking or the mapping of course outcome to program outcome will become easy if we keep these hints and these aspects in mind. So next question, which I will just now I'll go through quickly because these will be covered in one of sessions. How to set question papers as per Bloom taxonomy. Here again, as experts, when we go to the colleges, we try to find out the type of question set. If all the questions corresponding to the remembering or understanding level and the year is 4th year, this is a negative. So we expect when we move along the ladder of the higher classes, the type of question set must correspond to higher levels of Bloom taxonomy. So lower level question, remembering, understanding, and apply. Lower level questions evaluate student preparation and comprehension, diagnose student strength and weakness, and summarize content. The lower level does not help us to imbibe those things. So we can only need how much he has prepared, how good he is at one particular point, and so on. But when it comes to the higher level skill, then I can find out whether student is creative or not, how much learning he has done as regard analysis, data analysis. So Bloom taxonomy and question setting. High level questions require complex application, analysis, evaluation, and creation skills. Higher level question encourage students to think more deeply and critically. We will assess the students on these levels. Facilitate problem solving, encourage discussion, stimulate students to seek information on their own. This is how the high level questions, which will have which will have the verbs of higher levels of Bloom taxonomy, they will encourage the student to imbibe those skills, inculcate those qualities which are needed in present day. And they are what our is looking for. Just a minute, please, quickly.
Grover sir,
Anji.
I think we will have to conclude somewhere and take up questions because we have
Just a
stopped
minute.
participants. We have stopped participants. Oh
sir,
yes.
I'm almost through.
And
Now
second,
see, link.
Sir,
Huh?
Grover sir,
Please.
we have to take
Anji.
questions first, and the second, questions under just a minute, which we have shown here. Most of the participants are interested to know their correct answers as well.
वो अभी तो नहीं मिल पाएंगे. We will send them.
Correct, so that they can cross check whether they have
Yes,
correctly
certainly.
understood.
No, certainly we will do that, but अभी नहीं हो पाएंगे.
Correct.
Okay?
So at
We
least
will do that.
after this slide, at least let's take up questions. Till 4, all the participants are there, and those participants who feel that still more questions are pending, and if you can spare time, we can continue question answer even after 4. But those participants who have prior commitment, they are free to leave at 4.
That's
Please.
right. That's right.
Yes.
No, in fact, now we will not take up this. We will say, now see, we have prepared the questions. Now
Yes.
these questions, these exam questions that you prepare should also be indicated Bloom taxonomy law. And prepare a table like this, link your exam questions, course outcomes, and Bloom taxonomy. That means which course outcome has been given which question as and related to which Bloom taxonomy. Please see here, this kind of mapping or linking enables us to identify the way we are giving the questions to the students and the way the skills that we expect are being, let's say, imbibed in them. Let's say it is imbibed maybe 10%, 20%, 0, doesn't matter. But that is a process of doing it. So linking of setting question paper regarding Bloom taxonomy, linking questions, course outcome, Bloom taxonomy, sets up the relation from questions to course outcomes, the type of skills we wanted, that's how it will be able to do it. So attainment of COs can be ascertained via questions, assignments, projects, etc. Use Bloom taxonomy action verb to set the level of questions, that is whether corresponding to lower level order thinking skills or higher order thinking skills. For advanced classes and students, emphasize higher learning skills. Use Bloom taxonomy table as an aid. This is the table which I had given to verify all this. So aim for the after having done this thing, this is just, I think now I'm over. This is just a slide to show you that whatever you say in outcome-based education, you must, whatever you want, you say this, then prove it, and then improve it. This is a continuous quality improvement cycle, which is possible because I set the question paper, whether they are helping me to achieve my POs or not. If they are not, I come back again, do the exercise again, improve, then do the and so on. So this is a cycle of improvement where the various components are involved. So this I just wanted to show you how outcome-based education emphasizes the continuous quality improvement. And that's all. Thank you today for today. And I will let you have the answers of these just 1 minute assignments. Now let us come out. Professor Huda has been, very particular about time because he knows many people will be busy people. They will like to go. Let us take some important questions. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Sir, it's very excellent lecture we have, sir.
Thank you.
And I have, sir. Sir, can you apply this psychomotor domain and affective domain for CO attainment, sir?
Yes, why not?
So,
See?
so how to, sir? How to can I apply these for CO attainment?
Now see, this you will have to write down course outcome for the laboratory work.
Okay.
Once you have written the course outcome for laboratory work, then the rest of the process is same.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for theory courses, how many levels can you apply, sir? Can you apply all the levels for theory courses?
Now see, here again it's interesting. We let us say you are setting question paper of first year or second year. Now, what do you expect from students? You want the students to be able to reproduce what is done in the class, be able to do some applications, and so on. Then restrict yourself to those levels. But let us say you say students should be able to tackle difficult problem, difficult question. It may be, let us say, evaluation, it could be judgment, it could be data analysis, it could be interpretation of data, and so on. See, if you want that way, then you design your question like that. The student will know this is the kind of reply I'm going to do, this is the kind of learning activity. So this will all be dependent on the teacher, on the faculty. So that is why it is recommended that a group of teachers sit together and implement these things. Because these are, I mentioned, these are subjective, but they provide us a guideline of what is to be done, and how it's to be done will be decided by the faculty itself.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Sir,
afternoon.
sir, I have attended several trainings with respect to Bloom's taxonomy, but the way you have explained, it's really commendable. My question is that in case of management courses, if we have several clubs where students organize the events and show their skills, so what can be the methodology for using or counting these activities as a course outcome or program outcome basis?
Now, yes, very good question. Now,
Thank you.
see, let us say they are organizing an event.
Yes, sir.
Are they not working as a team?
Yes, sir. They are working.
They look for a team skill.
Okay,
Then,
sir.
not only that, collaboration.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
empathy. They, until unless they have empathy for that, or
Yes.
their communication skills. For example, one student, let us say, he unfortunately falls sick. Others say, "No, sir, I will do. Madam, don't worry, I'll do this." This is a hint of his learning and enthusiasm for contributing that. So then you design a rubric and assess these parameters, you'll be able to find out his contribution. See, again, remember, I'm emphasizing it, these are not exact. They give you a good idea of what is important and how it is to be assessed. How many marks to be given? Again, a group of 3, 4 people sit together. They say, for this we give the assessment of this level, for this particular this level, and so on. Important thing is, student should know that how he or she is being assessed. Once the student knows how she is assessed, she will be readying herself or himself accordingly. The beauty of outcome-based education is that the assessment methodology is known to the student as well as the teacher. The student knows I will be assessed on these parameters, on these indicators. So then he prepares and comes out better than that. So what your question can be easily answered if you keep in mind the activity they are performing, the type of activity they are performing, and use the rubric for that.
So, will you be guiding us for creating the assessment methodology as well?
And, there is a session, full session on this.
Okay, sir.
Mapping, assessment, and rubrics.
Okay,
Is a
sir.
session is there? Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. For
Thank you. Welcome.
Sir, I have a question.
Now, एक minute. Here is the question from Mr. Rochak Pandey. Now, see, NBA has given the program outcomes for the engineering program, right? Now, let us say you have a course on let us say, a MSc Physics. You want to write program outcome for this, you can write that. NBA has provided these 12 with the purpose of having a uniform, to begin with, to having a uniform standard of student learnings all across the country as a accreditation agency. If somebody does better than this, they never say why. So when you say, so please clear me on this, I have understood that developed by late formation of fuel, but it has told what you are being told is only for the engineering programs, not for any other program. Even for MBA, there is a flexibility, right? So that you can always, do better than what they have done. So it was told that POs are provided NBA body to the university, which seemed contradictory to me. No, there is no contradiction. See, Mr. Pandey, there is no contradiction. The issue is this: they have provided minimum 12, right? For purpose of uniformity, and but Washington Accord expect that this is the benchmark. Supposing when you write your PSOs, you write do better than this, no one stops you from here. These are the benchmark for that. Okay, so there is no contradiction anywhere. They are all in Any other question, please? Rochakji, does it satisfy you or no?
You are right, absolutely right, sir. All quality models are giving baseline.
Yes, this is a baseline.
And that's how the last level is continuous improvement. So there is no restriction to which extent we move forward. At least the basic quality should be enforced. Yes. Next question has come up. For each course, we have 5 to 6 COs. Whether all COs should have equal weightage. Interesting
What do you
question,
mean?
sir.
No, what is the weightage? What do you mean by weightage?
Yes.
No, what do you mean by weightage? Let us clarify ourselves. No, see, please, these things can be understood easily if I know what I am expressing. What do you mean by weightage? See, the criteria of defining COs or POs is that we should have COs. In fact, I would say we should have syllabus and then COs, which maps to as many POs as possible. As many. If you cannot map all the COs to all the POs, it's wrong. Even one PO, if you map to 3, 4, it's good. If you map up to 50%, it's very good. But it's not possible to do that. Because how do you do this? Because we do it with the help of questions, with the help of problems, with the help of student activities. Now, if you take, let us keep on the table 12 POs on one side and take a course, one course will be able to contribute maybe 3, 4. If it's a project, it will contribute to 6, 7 even. Because you have to see, I have given you a introduction. What does each PO involve? Those POs should be visible in the course outcome that you design. So that will give you a clue which are the COs which are mapping to which POs, right? That indicates their bonding, or let us say their connections. Now, this connection will be possible if we understand both these things and work in such a way that these things are taken care of. Does COs have any resemblance with Bloom taxonomy? No, there is no question.
Sir, बहुत बढ़िया question आ रहे हैं. Very interesting.
Another very good question. I really admire the participant. They have taken a lot of initiatives and I'm sure they will be very successful. Here the question from Ashish Kumar Tripathi. Does COs have any resemblance with Bloom taxonomy? No, sir, don't put the question like this. Bloom taxonomy is used to design COs, course outcomes. There resemblance again is not proper communication. Course outcomes can be designed with the help of Bloom taxonomy works, right? Then next question is how frequently COs can be modified and changed in course and management program. See, please see here, they are in our hands. Now, how frequently mean is not after when you change your syllabus, you can modify these COs get modified. If you don't change the syllabus, but still you want to implement it more effectively. Let me give you an example. Quadratic equation we learned when we were a student of 10th class. Quadratic equation is taught when you're a student of BSc. Quadratic equation is taught when you're a student of MSc. Right? What is the difference? Difference is the emphasis, the learning out of that, the contents, and so on. See, when you think of COs modification, then you think either you will be strengthening it. Let us suppose it was mapping only to 2 POs in the beginning. Then you will modify it so it maps to 4 POs. Yes, you can do that. The goal is let's say, thumb rule is a particular COs should try to map a particular COs to as many POs as possible. If it is not mapping, that CO is no good. If it is mapping to large number of POs, that is very good. But don't expect, we have seen many reports where they show one CO, tick, 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 all the 12. That's wrong because that's not possible. Now, let us take the case. Supposing you do it. So you do it. If you justify it, I will be convinced. because it's not possible to justify. That's why it's not. It's never like that. So kindly take into account the skill knowledge which is being imparted, which is being given by each of the course outcomes. And next question is, this is a good question. See how to design course outcome POs and POs for advanced PG courses in mechanical engineering. If you have any case study develop and design advanced program courses, please share. Please, you take my email, then send it to me. Then I will give you more, relevant information which you can use to design all these things. But the process of designing, the procedure of designing is the same.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Hello.
Yeah, here's another question.
Yeah.
Main courses are mapping with PO5s, POs up to 5, and the non-domain courses are mapping PO to 12. So many programs conducting to meet this and how these things can be linked to PO6. Now, please see here. If you are mapping domain courses are mapping PO. See, your domain courses means what? What is meant by domain courses?
Mechanical engineering.
No. You see, please see here. Domain courses are mapping with POs of 5, and non-domain courses are mapping POs up to PO 6 to 12. Now, non-domain courses mean like, say, mathematics. Mathematics is the non-domain courses.
Yes.
It will map to PO1.
The mathematics cannot be non-domain course. It could be communication skill. It could be
Mathematics.
It could be organizational behavior in engineering. It could be
Sir,
management.
Mathematics course. Sir, 1 minute. Mathematics course in mechanical engineering is a non-domain course.
Not in mechanical engineering, in advanced manufacturing course. Manufacturing technology.
Let me, you just send me, I'll let you know like this. Because the way question has been designed, this is not giving, though many programs are conducting to meet P6, how many these can be linked to PO6 to PO10? No, it's not possible to say like this. Unless you design the course outcome, only then we can say which is linked with that and which is not linked.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thanks.
Please, any other question?
The other participants, if you want to ask question. Sir, the interesting question is there any minimum level of mapping of POs? For example, PO 1 to 5, highly mapped by most of the subject, most of the COs.
No. There is no definite rule. There are only thumb rules.
Correct.
That let it be, let us say 3 or 4. If it doesn't map to anyone or it maps only one, this means the course outcome need to be improved, which means the syllabus need to be improved, which means the delivery needs to improve. Please see here, all these your syllabus, your course outcome, your program outcome. If you have designed a course outcome which maps only to one, then this means something is lacking here. Improve the course outcome. This you can do only if you improve the course syllabus. So this is how it's done. See, normally these are all thumb rule. Let it map to maybe 3 or 4 minimum. And maximum it can map to 5, 6 or 7. A project can go with that, but at theory courses, normally I'm saying normally go up to 5 or 6. If it goes beyond that, it's good. But only thing is, I need to know whether it does that.
Next interesting question is mapping level up to 3 or more. As for example, not map, average, full map.
Maybe how to design course outcome? Please repeat the question.
is mapping level up to 3 or more?
No, that's what I'm saying. It can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5, it can be 6. But normally with theory paper, see, this is again thumb rule. Normally with theory paper, it goes to 4, 5. But with projects, it can go to 6, 7, or maybe 8 even. Yes, how do I decide? But you ask the question, how do I decide this? This you are not asking. How do I decide this? I decide this, which course is contributing to which PO in which way, which skill is helping it. I had given you a detailed analysis of the various program outcomes where different kind of skills and contents are there. Look at those contents and look at the course outcome and then see which matches that. So thumb rule is theory courses 3, 4, sometimes 5 also. I'm saying these are thumb rules. And project courses maybe 6, 7, maybe 8. If I will discuss project-based learning, if you give a real-life project, it can go up to 10 even, right? And then let's see.
Mr. Abhay, you mean that only, or you mean its attainment, whether it is low, that is 1, average, that is 2, or high, it is 3. What you wanted in the question?
Sir, are you able to hear me?
That's a correlation. No. That is a correlation. This is a mapping is one first step. Second step is correlation. That is correlation. Say it correlation then. See, when I was saying mapping, we simply say they are related. But then you say the correlation. Correlation can be, example, NBA or let us say West. Otherwise, also convenient is we have the correlation is substantial, that means high, medium, or low, or no. So let us say there are 4 levels. Generally, where the verbs match, there should be high. Where they are nearer to that, they should be medium. Where you find yes, no, it can be, like that, then it's 1. So this is again a committee decision. But this committee takes into account that what is the content that is being assessed, discussed with the student, and how it's related with the peers. So this is what I'm saying. Thumb rule, example, substantial, medium, high, this will again be dependent, discuss, form a committee who will decide how it's being done, and then that's the only decision. There is no rule like this.
Again, Mr. Abhay, you are asking about that this exercise of OB seems to take more time than course preparation and delivery. You don't agree, and this is not that. In fact, this is the first time you are doing so, you understand that it takes more time. But once it becomes a way of life, and you are practicing it, so there is absolutely no time required for a special focus on OB. That is because your way of life. So every time is devoted to improvise your learning. That's what Professor Grover.
Now here, there are tools available, which are online tools available, like say in ERP, where you just go and enter your data and you get the result. It's not that. In our context, we are certainly finding it difficult because we are doing manually. But otherwise, tools are available online. I know of a college in South which they have developed their own tool. They do it online. It's not a difficult thing. Only initial labor is involved in designing the course outcome, etc. But when it comes to otherwise implementing such things, the tools are available.
This is the initial stage. Next question is very interesting again. Does psychometry domain is applicable to management subjects?
Now see here, in management subjects, I would say I have a limited knowledge of management subject. I would say no. Theoretical subjects, it's not applicable to theoretical subjects. It's applicable to those subjects which involve physical, let's say, involvement of human being, hands, legs, working like that. But it's not applicable to management code. This is what my knowledge is.
Next question is
Please.
More number of COs mapped to PO 1 to 4, but very few COs are mapped PO 6, 7. Is it okay?
Doesn't matter. Which means which course it is, which level it is. It's okay.
So this necessitates that you must have a program, or you must have some value-added module, additional module, which must address the requirement of PO6 and PO7. Is it, Professor Grover?
No. Yeah, no. See your map to this. That's right. Now let us decide. You want it? If you want it, add the corresponding module in your curriculum. See, look here. If you are not able to map, let us say, to PO9 or PO8, 8 is, I think, ethics, and 7 is society, etc.
Again,
Now,
very
if it is
interesting
not
question, sir.
mapping,
Professor, very interesting question.
Hanji.
Is it necessary for a students to know the vision, mission, statement of the institution, PO, CO, and LO of the courses? My dear friend, if we do not see that the basic purpose of institutionalization of OB philosophy across the institution will be lost. Is it, sir?
No, students should know it.
But how? A student must know it. Everyone should know it.
This is what, just a minute, sir. Not only students, your management should know it, your faculty should know it, your staff should know it, everyone should know it. Now, see, I have been emphasizing, NBA says disseminate. What does disseminate means? All stakeholders who can see this should know it. And students are very important stakeholders. They should know about these things. Without in fact, I have conducted many workshops for the students, like say NIT Surat and NIT Silchar, etc., where they were having special session for the students. Because unless student understands, is aware of what is to be done, how will you be implementing it? So here the basic thumb rule is all the stakeholders who are involved in this, they should be aware of about these concepts. It may be a degree lesser than faculty, much more than, let's say, others, but otherwise it's very good if everyone is aware of these things. I had mentioned to you, why do I need a vision statement? I need a vision statement. The institute has prepared a vision statement and they are not giving even a lab work. Then you can go and question the institute management. What does this vision mean? I want to premier institution and you are not giving me even the, let's say, lessons software. The moment I make a written statement, in a way, I have a moral commitment.
The next question is again, sir. Next question is again very interesting. If many students could not answer a question in assignment that correlates to a particular CO, what step to be taken? I think this is a point where concerned teacher should introspect and see that where I went wrong, so that my student could not learn and is not able to answer.
Correct. That's beside the goal is, my dear participant, or rather I meant Mr. Asish Kumar Tripathi, if student is not able to reply that answer, which means he has not been trained. He has not been made aware of these things.
This is not a student's mistake, this is teacher's mistake.
Right. The teacher has to implement it. Student has to respond it. आप कुछ कहेंगे सर स्टूडेंट रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करते हैं. अब मैंने आज शुरू एक स्लाइड बताई थी, क्यों नहीं रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं. वो कहता है जी मैं ये करके मुझे क्या मिलना है. अगर आप उसको कहो इस असाइनमेंट करने से यू विल डेवलप द प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग स्किल, यू विल बी एबल टू डू दिस काइंड ऑफ एप्लीकेशंस. अगर वो ना आए तो आप तब कहिए, क्योंकि स्टूडेंट को पता ही नहीं है. वो सोचता है यार ये तो मैं कर लूंगा, लेकिन अगर आप बताइए कि ये तुम नहीं कर सकते हो until you practically implement this, he will do that. So here there is a big gap. Teachers and students are not aware of the thinking, higher learning skills of the various activities. This gap should also be closed, shortened. Teachers should know what are the higher level thinking skills, what are their attributes, how they can be implemented, how they can be measured. Then the student also knows that these are the skills I will gain out of this activity. This is how the student teacher is going to judge me. This is how I am going to get rewarded. Then you see the difference. Because at the moment we are lacking in this, that's why this difficulty is coming. Yes, please.
Any other question, participants, please? So if there are no questions, please confirm. Shall we close the session? Please confirm yes. So great. So wish you all